old societies, like a lot of Native American societies.
And why are they not around anymore?
Damn.
Because white people killed all of them.
Actually,
Yeah, first video we got is a public interview about patriarchal society. I saw a clip of it, so it should be interesting to hear some hot takes. Get right into it.
Why is it that a woman's love is more likely something that needs to be earned through courtship than a man's love?
Like he said, why is a woman's love? Wait, why is a man's love? Why does a man have to court a woman to show his love? I think his argument that he's trying to get to with the question is, why do men have to pursue in order to show their love while women?
Like if a girl just all of a sudden started getting on your knees and proposing to guys, that would be
so tough because of the fact that it's like girls that go off of feelings. One day they're like mad in love with you. Yo, I'm gonna propose to this guy.
And like girls have proposed to guys before. It never made sense to me because it's like, isn't that kind of like taking him by like force or whatever?
The man would just be in a tough position. The woman proposed to the man, just feel like he has to say yes. I don't know why. It just feels so weird.
I would say no.
I would say no, but I'll think the attempt would be pretty like cute.
What if she does it in public?
Oh,
Then she gonna learn her lesson the hard way. That's tough.
I'm gonna say yes, so that it's not like embarrassing. But then like when you get in private, I'm gonna be like, yeah, nah. Like, it's not.
The moment you see the knee, go on the floor and act like you're tying your shoe.
In other words, like why don't women court men? Why does society set things up that way, that men are expected to court women in order to earn her love?
But on the other side of this spectrum here, I'm just gonna say, like, that just goes back to the patriarchy real quick.
Yeah, I need
because,
to
like,
real quick.
I don't know, like, women,
trying to
yes, we're not, like, that is societal standards. Things are changing now as, like, women get more rights and, like, feminism and we start to progress in the world. However, like, with that social standard with men, there's also a lot of privileges that come with that. So it's like, it could be switched up. It could be the other way around, but then you have to also accept the other privileges on the other end of that. Like, that's just how our society is set up right now. It's not right, but what's to say the other way is right either?
I feel like, honestly, it's on the person. Like, you shouldn't have to earn no one's love. You should go into something loving yourself first. And, you know, like, if you make each other happy, cool. You should accept each other for who they are and, you know, what it is. And if you're doing everything you can to make somebody happy and it's not working, then, you know, you don't have to accept that and settle. You could just do your thing. If that's not the type of love that you're into, then, you know, sorry, excuse my language, but fuck it, sorry.
I mean, and men don't always have to be, like, it's not so much like that anymore where it's men always being the aggressors in the relationship,
Right.
I guess. It's like, I think also women, again, don't feel that comfortable going up in being an aggressor in a relationship. And a lot of times, men don't really want that whole courtship experience. A lot of men are very visually focused.
And this patriarchy thing that she's talking about, I don't understand. You guys understand what she was saying?
I think she's just throwing around that word because she learned it somewhere. It's just one of those things.
No clue what she meant with that word.
Literally, patriarchy is just one of those words that's just thrown around now. Same thing like patriarchy, narcissist. Girls love narcissists now. Those two words are just thrown around and overused. Nobody actually knows the real definition. They're just using it to just throw it around and explain whatever. But yeah, I don't think, to the question, I don't think society's setting it up in that way. I think that's just how things naturally happen, just because of our biology. And I think, all right, let's define like what patriarchy. Hold on, I'm gonna look it up on Google. What is patriarchy?
All right, so there's matriarchy and then there's patriarchy. They both represent hierarchies, but the patriarchy is for the man dominating society and the matriarchy is woman dominating society.
A system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it. So the way most people use it nowadays is the second definition, where men are holding the power and women are excluded from it.
That's not.
And that would be toxic, but that's not how the world is running today. It was before, when women didn't have rights to vote and everything. Patriarchy is toxic when people are being excluded and things are unequal. But if things are equal, I feel like things would naturally still end up where men are holding most of the power, because there's things that men are naturally better at that grant them to be more productive and more successful in certain fields and certain areas over women. It's not like women are incapable of, but it's just your choice. People still have the choice to do what they want to, and if you're fit where you're most happiest, in general, women are attracted to men who are leaders. So men are gonna obviously work to be leaders. it doesn't work the same way for, you know, men to women. Men are attracted to women for different reasons. So women are going to focus on those things in order to, just as a basic human drive to, you know, reproduce and, you know, have a family. And women are completely capable. Back in the day when men used to go to war, women were running society, and then when the men came back, they chose to take a back seat and be stay-at-home mothers while the men went out to work, because that's just where they felt more comfortable and where they fit. And then the man was able to do what he does and, you know, go out and be the breadwinner. So it seems like men are holding most of the power, but as long as that's not set up systemically, then things should be fine.
Why are women a stronger sex when it comes to birthing children, but conveniently the weaker sex when it comes to risking rejection, needing sympathy and validation, killing spiders, opening jars, lifting heavy objects, and fighting wars?
I wouldn't
Bruh.
say necessarily that that second part is true. I think that's kind of the stereotype that we've given women. And I also feel like living in a patriarchal society, I feel like that's just how it's worked. But I wouldn't say that one outweighs the other.
Yeah. Same answer. Two different concepts, two different ways of human behavior, and I think it's a really small thing and a really big thing.
Well, yeah, but do you think that women want equality when it's convenient but are happy to revert to traditional gender roles when it's not?
Wouldn't anybody do that? Isn't that like a normal human behavior?
Well, right, but just because you can take candy from a baby, does that make it right?
No, but I think humans don't always work on right and wrong.
What is patriarchy and why does...
I hate so.
This man is honestly being mad biased with his questions, yo. Yeah,
Is
this
this-
guy
is this
too.
a-
He's being very vague when he talks about society, bro. African women are not the same as American women. He needs to be very specific about what society he's referring to.
What is patriarchy and why do so many women complain about it?
Well, can you please define patriarchy?
Okay. Would you agree that patriarchy is defined as a system of society or government in which men hold the power and women are largely excluded from it?
Yes.
Yeah. Well,
I think women complain about it because it's prevalent and real in our society, and it's, women face that every day.
The patriarchy is the systematic and societal favoritism to masculine traits rather than feminine traits. So I personally am bothered by the patriarchy because in society, and it's not even just something that women should be upset about, men should be upset about it as well, because it prevents them from fully being their best selves as well. Because that's why so many men, when it's like, oh, like, men can't wear dresses, they can't do all that, they can't do things that are considered feminine, or at least that's what society tells us, because it would be emasculating to them, and they have to maintain the sense of masculinity. But on the other end of the spectrum, women, when they want to pursue more masculine things, it affects both genders as much, both sexes, I would say. Both sexes as much as it, does women. Men get affected as much. It's just not as talked about. But I personally am bothered by it because I feel it's hard for me to be seen as respected in the world because of my femininity.
She said a whole lot, and I didn't
Okay,
understand.
this is what her question. This is what she started off saying. She said that patriarchy is when society prefers masculine traits over feminine traits. Do you guys agree with that?
Well, yeah, obviously, because like masculine traits are just like, get the job done, get it done quickly. You know what
Yeah.
I mean?
Even if you were to have women succeed, she would need to use masculine traits to succeed. You know what I'm saying?
I agree.
I don't know how you would make feminine traits be able
most-
to
Mhm.
provide and support a society and advance a society. Those need masculine traits, even if it's a woman doing them. I don't know because she's talking about men wearing dresses. I don't know how that's gonna help society in any way.
The definition for success for women is different from the definition of success for a man, because women and men are biologically different.
kind of dominate things, and I think it's interesting that women complain about it, but also want to stay at home.
Not all
Because
women.
I have a career, I'm 24 years old, I'm an engineer, I live on my own, but I'm also I kind of just want to be a stay-at-home mom at some point and chill out, but I'm not, but I can't, it would be so hypocritical of me if I was oh, men shouldn't go out in the workforce and go be a career person. I think everyone is equal.
That would be like the opposite of patriarchy, and I think the point is not to do the opposite. The point is for it to be equal, and the reason why women complain about the patriarchy is because it's prevalent in our society, and women
How is
face...
it prevalent? What is it?
Making friendships.
What gender have every single one of our presidents been?
Yes,
That's
another
patriarchy.
thing.
Okay, but let me ask you this about
That's
that.
not
Right?
true.
Do you think that the only qualification to be president should be just being a woman?
So actually, my mom and I was
But I think because men are viewed as leaders and power figures based on our society setup is why people are more likely to vote for men, because if you look at interviews,
Pause it.
even
Pause it.
some
Pause
women
it.
are
Pause it.
like,
Pause it. Pause it.
because
Pause
women
it. Pause it. Pause it. Bro, how many female candidates have there been?
Not too many.
Because women don't want to be presidents. Like, what is her argument?
Yeah, she's trying to make it be like, oh, society is oppressing me. But it's like, no, people have their choices. Society follows people. Society is built by people. It's not like there's some sort of, it's not like people sat down in a meeting and been like, all right, let's oppress women. Like, no, people get to make the choices as to where they would best fit and be most useful towards the community and general population. And that's just the way things turned out. The reason why men have been presidents is because men are more likely to have qualities that are necessary to be a president.
Men are more likely to want to be presidents. All you need to be president is be a citizen and be at least 35 years old. And of course, have the money to be able to fund the whole campaign. If it's that simple, then you should see more men and women doing it. But that's not how it works, because men and women don't have the same interests. Women have interests elsewhere.
And if you are a woman who does have those interests, then the opportunity is there for you to reach that point. It's not like there's anything stopping you. Obviously, we've had Hillary Clinton. There's women in many seats in the House of Representatives and Congress. There's women involved in
Vice
politics.
president right now. Our vice
The vice
president
is a woman. So it's not like, it's just that fewer women are likely to have those traits because it's unnatural. But if you do have those traits and you do want to pursue that, you have the freedom to. So it's not patriarchy, it's just natural attraction. Men are looking to improve themselves to the highest status they can because women are looking for the highest quality man that they can get. The king who marries a peasant, that his wife becomes the queen, but if a queen marries some random dude, he doesn't become the king, he just becomes the queen's wife. So aren't raised to any standard by the type of woman that he's with, but women are raised to a certain standard by the type of man that they're with, so they're looking for the highest quality man they can get.
Setup is why, like, because women shouldn't be leaders, they're too emotional, and that's because society has set it up that way. And men are viewed as leaders. That's why the vast majority of men, or all of the business leaders, the presidents, they're everything. They're always at the top.
I've never once said that about any woman, first. Second of all, my mom and I were just having this conversation because she's writing a book about, successful lead like a woman, and we were just talking about how when you get into the workforce, that this generation does have more women. We just haven't had the time to where we're in those positions yet. Right. And I bet in 20 or 30, but as a society, if you look at it, we're changing. You just have to give it that time, because back in the day, and actually, speaking of, and
it's changing because women are complaining about the patriarchy.
So when men all went off to war, all of the women worked, made all the money, got all the bacon, and then there wasn't that many men in the workforce because they all kind of died because of the war or things. And then when they came back, the women, I forget, someone explained this to me, but it was pretty much like our choice of going back. Like, we were doing just fine running everything.
That's what I said earlier.
They had the choice, and they chose to stay home.
That's where they were most happiest and most natural and fit in and were most useful for. So
So you're saying bringing home the bacon versus making the babies kind of thing?
Yeah, I mean, wasn't that kind of like...
Historically, yeah.
Historically, okay, so then isn't patriarchy just the natural evolution of men and women just giving into their expected roles?
I mean, historically, a lot of things happened that weren't right. You know?
Well, I'm just saying, okay, so I'm going to challenge this idea. Why is patriarchy seen as such a bad thing when women always expected men to provide?
I don't expect men to provide.
Well, right, but historically, women did.
Well, that was just because...
That was what we were told to do. Well, to be honest, we weren't allowed to do stuff as a woman.
Well, no, I'm saying hopefully we can change that now, but my point is, I'm saying that basically... Isn't the idea of patriarchy oppressing women based on a false premise if women wanted men to provide? And so I'm just saying, men went into the productive sphere and they built business empires, things like that. So now they're going to be leaders of industry because that's what they have been doing for the past 100 years.
Well, as a counterpoint to you real quick, it's not that we wanted men to provide historically, it's just that we weren't given any opportunities to provide for ourselves.
Historically, if things happened historically and things are away, they're that way for a reason.
We need to be careful. We need to be very careful to say that are the people that talk about feminism and, you know, patriarchy, are they feeling empathetic towards the dispossessed, or are they feeling envious and contempt and hatred for the people that have it good? There has been times where people have decided, okay, let's just change the rules so that everybody's equal. And how did that go? Not so well. That's because they were focused on envy and hatred. That's why they killed. That's why they killed so many. That's why so many people had to die.
I also thought it was ironic how her friend next to her was talking about us as women, but you know, you chose to be a woman, so I mean, don't start complaining about, you know,
that's true.
Women
that's true.
But you know,
it's a man talking
all
now?
the time because
Yeah, it's a man talking.
Oh,
You
no.
started
Yeah.
spitting some facts.
He
You
looks
started
like a
spitting some
simp.
facts.
He looks like a simp.
Nah,
Watch
he's
this.
spitting some facts. He's spitting some facts.
yeah, if you want to talk about a hunter-gatherer sense, sure, men would typically, and by the way, not all the time, because there's actually more historical evidence than people give credit for women hunting. But let's go ahead and assume you're correct, and that only men hunt. Sure, maybe, but that's not correct. But let's go ahead and assume that women actually produced a lot of the tools and the clothing that men used to hunt. So they were actually producing most of the economy. So if we look at a patriarchy, is it that men are producing more? No, not at all. It's just that they decided they wanted to take
Hey,
credit.
who mans is this?
But let's go. Next question.
Whose mans is
But
this?
now you don't see that in society. You see
I think his
women
argument
my
was that
age,
patriarchy
we,
doesn't exist.
honestly, it's 50-50.
Mhm.
Like,
That's
in the
because women are
workforce.
trying to change it. That's the whole point.
We already are. It's not even trying. We are changing it.
And they're
And
still
you just have to
working
give it
towards
time
it.
and stop bitching.
Okay, let me ask a
And
few
just
more.
be thankful.
Let me ask you a
And
few
work
more.
hard.
Let me ask you a few more
I like
questions
this
that I
girl.
think we'll get to an interesting
Okay,
point here,
see.
and this is what I'm really
She
curious to
single?
see what you think. Okay,
I'm trying to find
so
out.
now that we define patriarchy, do you think that patriarchy is the cause of gender roles, or is it the result of gender
She
roles?
is.
I think
I
it's
think
an
it's-
excuse.
I think it's the result.
Okay, so then here's what I want to know. Historically, weren't men in the productive sphere while women were in the reproductive sphere? Okay, so isn't patriarchy just the natural evolution of men and women just giving into their expected roles?
Again, I think that goes back to survival. Like those were the roles that
We're
we
still
needed to survive
surviving.
back in the
How
day.
did
But
we
again,
not
today we don't need those things. Women don't
How are
need
we
to
not
have children.
surviving?
Like women can go
Why
out and
do
do
we
all the
not need
things
to
that
have
men
children?
do. You don't need to fall into those gender roles.
But that's what makes
anymore.
us special. Men can have children. I want to do something they can't do.
Okay, but not every woman wants to have a child, and they shouldn't have to.
I never said they had to.
Okay.
I said I want to.
Okay, let
Okay.
me get to the next question then. Why is patriarchy seen as such a bad thing when women always expected men to provide?
I think that women were taught to expect that
I personally enjoy
My
it.
because of the
goodness.
patriarchy.
But you don't think
They
that
were-
but you don't think that's a biological thing because
I think it depends on who you are, like, and what.
Again, because it's different in every society. Some societies are matriarchal, so it all depends on society
Which
and where you're
ones?
from.
Which one?
A lot of
Say one.
old societies, like a lot of Native American societies,
And why are they not around anymore?
Damn.
because white people killed all of them.
Actually,
Pause it for a second.
Yo, Don DeMarco. Yo, nah, cause I feel like the one in the redhead is a lot of girls who are in college right now, and I feel
Yeah.
like I'm listening to a humanities course right now.
Man,
Low key,
course.
it's the stuff that's fed on like social media and you know college campuses, and
Yeah.
while some of it like does have a good point, I feel like some of it does just get overkill because I mean, like the other girl said, she's like just be great. I mean, be grateful because things aren't a certain way. Most of the work's been done already, and things are gonna continue to change. You just have to give it time. But
I agree. I think
yeah,
with the girl on the left, she just like chooses not to believe in biology. Everything is just social construct.
everything to her is it was taught. It was oppressed. Like no,
Yeah.
it was taught. It's not taught. It's just naturally that it happened, and
Yeah.
the things that are taught follow the people. You know what I'm saying?
Not out here hunting and gathering anymore. We can sit down and look at a little jog behind a little computer desk and whatnot and do whatever the fuck we want to do.
There's places in the world where people don't have clean water to drink, while we poop into clean water over here. So
it's important to have these conversations. I think the girl on the left, even though she doesn't seem too educated in her topic, I think it's important to have people that are educated and think the way she does, because then we can contend, we can try and figure out the answer, because it's not that easy, man. It's really not easy trying to figure out whether admiring hierarchies or trying to shut down hierarchies, because there are good benefits and there are bad benefits, because there is a capability of hierarchies turning into tyrannies, but then there is
Yeah.
also the possibility of trying to shut down tyrannies and then you become the tyrant yourself.
You need to stop trying to find power for yourself and trying to elevate yourself and start thinking about how you can be most useful to the people around you. And I feel like if
Exactly.
everybody had that mentality, then things would just, work out.
Actually, they were the ones who no, you actually don't know your history. Native Americans were also very mean to us as well. We fought each other. And you
I
want
don't
to
know
know
about
why
that.
Jamestown got like smallpox is when the Indians gave them gifts, like rugs and things. They actually put smallpox on the rugs. It'd be like putting COVID on someone and then giving them cake.
Okay, just a couple more questions related to that, right? Why should men be
History
expected?
is hard.
Yo, pause it.
There's all,
Pause
like,
it, yo. I'm sorry.
society.
I feel like this is why the girl on the left. Go back a little bit. You can see like this is why these type of conversations aren't had. Like go back. Like see
It'd be
how
like
see
putting
you see
COVID
how
on
how she doesn't
someone
want to
and
even
then
engage
giving them
anymore.
cake.
Yeah,
She
Okay,
doesn't.
just a couple
she's
more questions related to
zoned
that,
out.
right?
I hate that.
Yeah.
I
Pause
hate
it.
that.
Pause
I
it.
hate
Why
Pause
that.
it.
should men be
History is
expected?
This
I
is
hate
why
that
it's
so much.
hard to have conversations with people that are like I on the extreme leftists, because they don't like generally it's women, and women generally
Not
don't like
left, just like
conflict.
on the extreme sides. Like, is this? I hate because I know guys like this as well. It's just some people just like as soon as you start bringing in like the actual real stuff that needs to be paid attention to, it just like you know what I mean. It can't be a simple discord. Just talking,
It
communicating,
gets
conversing, figuring
heated.
out a problem. Gets
Yeah.
heated and someone just like zones out. It's like, all right,
I think I know
shit.
the reason I'm bringing her up is because she doesn't like the conflict. Like this was started off as a
Does
friendly
not.
conversation, and then now she understands that this is going somewhere where it shouldn't, where she doesn't want to be. But I feel like if you have these conversations in a better light, like in a better way, that has to do with like competence. Like you're not just using your emotions to say, "Oh no, you don't know your history." That obviously girls get a little dramatic sometimes, but when they have the conversation, so it's a little difficult to have these conversations when we don't actually know, you're not speaking with logic, you're just speaking out of emotion. So I just thought it was interesting just looking at how she just zoned out, like, yeah, nah, I'm done talking about this.
It's just so natural that I just overlooked it. I saw her zone out, and I'm like, all right, oh, she's gone. I just kind of accepted it. And, like, didn't even think too much. That's how common it is.